There are moments in a man's life that do not arrive with noise, no sirens, no shattered glass, no dramatic phone call in the night. They arrive quietly, in a driveway, in a neighbor's kitchen, in the space between one ordinary breath and the next. And by the time you understand what you're looking at, the world you thought you were standing in is already gone. The morning I almost lost everything began the same way the previous 17 months had begun, with coffee I barely tasted and a drive I could have made blindfolded. Every Sunday I went to the Veterans Memorial at Riverside Park in Boise, Idaho. My son Daniel's name is on the second wall, panel 4, line 11. He was 27 when his convoy hit an IED outside Helmand Province. That was 9 years ago. I still have not figured out how to spend a Sunday any other way. I always bring 2 cups of coffee from the Chevron on State Street. One for me, one for him. I leave his at the base of the wall. It probably looks strange to people jogging by, but I'm 68 years old and retired from the fire department. I lost interest in what strangers think somewhere around my 3rd structure fire. I had been there maybe 45 minutes that morning, talking to Daniel the way I always did, telling him his boy was doing well, telling him the tulips finally came up by the back fence, telling him his mother would have hated what the Broncos were doing this season. Same conversation, same ache, same quiet. Then I drove home. Nina Hollowell was waiting at the edge of her driveway when I turned onto Birch Hollow Lane. That alone was wrong. Nina was 72, widowed, exacting, and the kind of woman who ironed pillowcases because, in her words, sloppiness spreads. She did not stand outside in her robe unless weather, death, or scandal had forced her into it. Her robe was navy blue, and she still had pruning gloves in one hand. I rolled down the window. "Nina, everything all right?" She glanced toward my house, then back at me. "Frank," she said, "don't go in yet. Please, come inside first." Something in her voice made me shut off the truck without another question. Her kitchen smelled like cinnamon tea and lemon cleaner. She closed the door behind us and stood with both hands on the counter for a moment, steadying herself. "Madeline has been at your house since 10 this morning," she said. Madeline, my daughter-in-law, Daniel's widow. I felt my shoulders tighten. "She still has a key," I said automatically. "She used to help when Elena got sick. I never asked for it back." Nina nodded. "I know. And I'm not trying to spy, Frank. I was trimming roses by the side fence and I could see into your kitchen through the window. There was a man with her, older, gray suit. They spread papers all over your table." I said nothing. "So I kept watching," she said quietly. "Then I started recording." She held out her phone. The video was shot through fence slats and rose branches, shaky in places, but the sound was clear enough to freeze the blood in me. My kitchen, my table, my chairs. Madeline was sitting there across from a man in bifocals with a leather folio and a stack of paperwork 2 inches thick between them. The man's voice came first. "The physician's evaluation is already filed. Dr. Kaplan signed off Tuesday. Moderate executive decline, impaired short-term memory, reduced judgment capacity. It gives the petition enough weight." Madeline's voice followed, low and calm. "And once the court appoints me conservator, you'll have legal control over all financial decisions until further review. The house, retirement accounts, your late mother-in-law's insurance proceeds, and any distributions tied to the Nolan Trust. Quarterly reporting, but nothing difficult." My throat went dry. "What about Owen?" she asked. The man shrugged. "Your son's share remains in trust until 25. You'll manage it as conservator. He's 22 now. By the time he has standing to challenge anything, the structure will already be in place." Madeline was quiet a beat, then said, "That's what I was counting on." Nina stopped the video. The room was very still. I sat down because my knees, which had carried me through 32 years of firehouses and ladders and smoke and funerals and shift work, had abruptly decided they would not be making philosophical statements standing up. The pharmacy, I said, more to myself than to her. She waited. 3 months ago, I went to pick up the last of Elena's prescriptions to donate what could be donated. The pharmacist got confused about the account holder name. Madeline was with me. She offered to help straighten it out. Nina's face tightened. She documented it as confusion. I nodded. And the bank. Last spring, I moved money into a new savings account. The teller flagged it as unusual because I rarely move funds in person. Madeline was there that day, too. Nina reached over and covered my hand with hers. She's been building a file. I stared at her countertop for a long moment. Then I looked up. Can you send me that video? Already did, she said, and I made copies. I looked at her. This woman with pruning gloves still in one hand and dirt on the hem of her robe. This woman who had once brought casseroles every Tuesday when Elena's chemo made the whole house smell faintly metallic and wrong. Why are you doing this for me? Her eyes softened in a way I had not seen before. Do you remember the Ashbury Apartments fire on Cole Road, 2020? I did. Kitchen fire, old electrical, fast spread inside walls, third-floor rescue, ugly work. My nephew was in 3B, she said. You went in twice. I remembered a little boy in dinosaur pajamas and a hallway black with smoke. You never asked who he was, she said. You just went. I had never connected him to Nina. I've owed you for 4 years, she said. I'm just glad I was in the yard this morning. I nodded because anything more would have come out wrong. Then she straightened up and became Nina Hollowell again. What are you going to do? I didn't go home that night. Madeline still had the key, and I wanted her to think she still had the same house, the same access, the same old grieving father-in-law whose loneliness had made him easy to manage. I checked into a Hampton Inn out by the interstate, paid cash, and spent the night at the little desk by the window with my laptop open and Nina's video on repeat. The first thing I found when I pulled my accounts was that Madeline had been added as an authorized user on my main checking account 6 weeks earlier. There was a scanned form with my supposed signature on it. I had never seen the bank branch listed. My brokerage account showed the same thing, not ownership. Just enough access to initiate activity with the right pretext and the right forged line at the bottom of a page. Then I went further back. Small withdrawals, quiet ones, $70 here, $140 there, a little over $200 twice in 1 month, the kind of numbers that vanish into the static if you're looking broadly instead of carefully. I had been looking broadly. I had also, I realized with a kind of sick admiration for her patience, been telling Madeline everything she needed to know. Every minor confusion, every sentimental hesitation, every moment of grief-induced distraction that a decent person would have met with gentleness, and she had apparently logged like data. At 2:11 a.m., I found the text chain where she first suggested I might want a simple memory check because I'd misplaced my reading glasses twice in 1 week. I had laughed it off. Now I saw the test balloon for what it was. My phone buzzed just after 3. Owen, my grandson. Grandpa, you okay? Mom said you didn't come back for dinner. Call me when you can. I stared at his name for a long time. Owen Daniel Nolan. Named for my father and my son. 22 years old. Quiet like Daniel. Careful like Elena. The kind of young man who listened first and answered second. He had moved out after college but still stopped by on Wednesdays to help with the yard or fix the printer or pretend not to notice when grief made me repeat myself. Did he know? I could not imagine it. Then again, at midnight in a hotel room, I could no longer imagine much with confidence. I texted back. Phone died. I'm okay. Talk tomorrow. Love you. His reply came almost instantly. Love you too. Don't ghost me, old man. I slept maybe 40 minutes in total. By 6:30 a.m. I had a list. The first call I made was to Dr. Leah Kim, a neuropsychologist in Meridian I had met 2 years earlier at a charity luncheon for first responders. I explained briefly that someone had produced a fraudulent cognitive evaluation under my name, and I needed an independent assessment immediately. She didn't waste my time with sympathy noises. "Be here at 1," she said. The evaluation took 4 hours. Memory testing, executive function, recall, language, processing speed, problem solving. When it was over, Dr. Kim sat across from me in her office and said very plainly, "Your cognition is well within normal range for your age, above average in several domains. Whoever completed the prior report either evaluated a different man or lied." I asked her to put it in writing. She had it printed, signed, notarized, and copied twice before I left. Good woman. The second thing I did was call a locksmith I knew from city property contracts years back. Midnight, my side door got a new deadbolt. Madeline's key still worked on the front entry. I wanted her comfortable, not warned. While I was in the house, I installed cameras. I had bought a security system after Elena died and never gotten around to mounting the things because grief turns even small tasks into negotiations with yourself. Now I mounted all 4. Kitchen, living room, hallway, my study, cloud backup, encrypted feed. Password was Elena's maiden name and the year we married. Nobody alive was guessing that. The third call was to Martin Sloan, my estate attorney. Martin had handled Elena's will, my trust, and Daniel's death benefits paperwork after the Army made me sign what felt like my own bones away. He was 66, slow-talking, impossible to rattle, and in my experience one of the few men whose caution made him more dangerous instead of less. I met him at his office in downtown Boise and put everything on his desk. Nina's video, the suspicious account authorizations, Dr. Kim's evaluation, a copy of the false one obtained through a records request, notes, dates, the whole ugly shape of it. Martin read for nearly an hour without saying much. Then he looked up. "This is attempted elder financial exploitation," he said. "The false medical filing alone is serious. The forged account access forms make it worse. If we move correctly, we can stop the conservatorship petition, freeze any action on your accounts, and hand a criminal package to the prosecutor." "How long?" He thought for a moment. 2 weeks to build it properly. Maybe less if she gets sloppy." "She'll get sloppy," I said. "She thinks she's already in." He nodded. "Then act normal. Don't confront her. Let her come and go. Let the cameras run. I'll file an emergency objection to the conservatorship petition and request a temporary hold while we challenge the medical basis. That buys us time." I sat back. "And Owen?" Martin took off his glasses. "That depends," he said, "on whether he's part of the plan or being kept at arm's length by it." I found out on day 6. Madeline came by with Owen that afternoon. I watched the live feed from my truck parked 2 streets over like a man surveilling his own life. Owen looked uneasy the moment he stepped inside. His mother went into her soft voice almost immediately. "Your grandfather has been more forgetful lately. I didn't want to worry you." Owen frowned. "I saw him Sunday. He seemed fine." "He gets good days," she said, "and then bad ones. The doctor was very clear." There it was again. The doctor. Authority dressed like comfort. "I want to talk to him myself," Owen said. "Not yet," she said quickly, then slower, gentler. "He gets defensive. We have to do this the right way." Owen went quiet. That was Daniel's quiet. The one that meant he hadn't accepted something, only postponed the argument. I recognized it immediately. 3 days later, I called him and asked if he wanted breakfast. He was at the diner on Fairview by 7:15. He looked tired. We ordered eggs, sat in the kind of silence men use when they know the first true thing is going to hurt. Then he said, "Something's wrong." I slid my phone across the table. "You need to watch 3 things, start to finish. Then you can ask me anything you want." He watched Nina's video first. Then the kitchen recording where Madeline and the consultant discussed my house, Elena's insurance money, and his trust. Then another clip from 2 nights earlier where she had said, in my kitchen, "Frank is easier to manage when he thinks I'm helping. He's lonely, not suspicious." When Owen looked up, his face had gone through several ages in about 90 seconds. Shock, disgust, a kind of grief I knew too well. "She told me," he said slowly, "that you were declining, that you were forgetting things, that if I pushed too hard, I'd upset you." "I know." He looked back down at the phone. "Grandpa, I swear to you, I didn't know." I reached across the table and put my hand over his. "I know you didn't. That is why you're here." He closed his eyes once. Then he opened them and asked the only question that mattered. "What do you need me to do?" That was when I knew I still had family left. I told him. 3 days. Normal. No change in behavior. No confrontation. Then Thursday night, be at the house before 7 and stay in the guest room until I called you out. He nodded. No drama, no speeches, no boyish promise to fix everything with his bare hands. Just Daniel's son, doing what was needed. The recording that closed the case came the following night. Madeline was in my kitchen with the consultant from Nina's video, whose name I had since learned was Aaron Pike. Financial advisor. Moderate reputation. Poor judgment. Excellent at dressing predation up in administrative language. "How much are we actually talking about?" he asked. Madeline leaned on my counter like she was already redecorating. "House is worth about $515. Retirement accounts just over $900. Elena's life insurance payout still sits in a separate holding account at $250. Owen's trust is another $320. He whistled softly. "So call it $2 million. She smiled. "Close enough." "And your piece?" She looked at him over the rim of her coffee cup. "It's not a piece. It's my late husband's estate. Once I have conservatorship, I control all of it legally. Owen's share stays under management until he's 25. Aaron laughed. "A lot can happen in 3 years. Madeline said, "I've been planning this since Elena's funeral. I'm not reckless. I'm patient." That word again. Patient. There are people who use patience to plant gardens and raise children and rebuild their lives after loss. And then there are people who use patience the way other people use bolt cutters. I backed up the footage in 4 places that night. Then I sat in the dark and thought about casseroles, about the meals she brought after Elena died, about the way she hugged me with one hand and carried boxes with the other and made me think she was helping me survive. Loneliness is not just sadness. It is lowered perimeter. Thursday night, I invited her over under the pretense of discussing updates to the trust. She arrived at 6:55, with Aaron, of course. They walked in carrying that same composed energy of people who think they are still running the timing. I let them sit in my living room. I stood near the fireplace. Nina was 2 streets away at her own kitchen table watching the camera feed live. Martin was outside in a sedan with Detective Elisa Moreno from Ada County Financial Crimes. Owen was in the guest room down the hall. Madeline looked around. "Is Martin joining us?" "In a minute," I said. "I wanted to talk first." She smiled, that same careful smile. "Of course. What's on your mind, Frank?" I picked up the remote, turned on the television, and played Nina's original video. My kitchen, her voice, the conservatorship, the trust, the plan. Madeline went completely still. Aaron's face shifted first. Good. I have always respected accurate panic. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "My neighbor's roses," I said. "Turns out they came with a view." Madeline found her voice. "You had no right—" I switched to the kitchen footage from 2 nights earlier. 2 million. Since Elena's funeral. Patient. Aaron stood up so quickly he nearly knocked over the lamp. "This is harassment. We're leaving." "No," I said. "You're not." The front door opened. Martin came in first. Detective Moreno behind him. Two uniformed officers at the threshold. The room changed instantly. There is always a moment when a liar realizes narrative has stopped being useful. You can see it happen in the eyes. Madeline's did not go wide. She was too disciplined for that. But something in them collapsed. "Frank," she said, and I have to give her this. She was still trying to use the old voice. "Think about what you're doing. I'm family. I'm Daniel's widow. My son has been dead for 9 years," I said. "What you've been since then is a woman with a plan." Then Owen stepped out of the hallway. That was the only thing that really changed her face. Owen. Her voice broke in exactly the right place. He looked at her for a long moment. "I watched everything." She started toward him. "Sweetheart, whatever he showed you, your grandfather is confused. He's being manipulated." He held up one hand. It stopped her better than shouting would have. "I know every version of your voice," he said quietly. "I know when you're actually worried, and I know when you're trying to steer me." She stared at him. He kept going. "You kept me away from him. You used Dad. You used Grandma. You used me." There was no answer for that, so she reached for offense instead. "You don't understand what it takes to protect a family." "No," Owen said. "I understand exactly what it takes. Grandpa showed me." Detective Moreno stepped forward. "Madeline Nolan, Aaron Pike, you are being detained for questioning in connection with elder financial exploitation, fraud, forged financial authorizations, and falsification of medical documents." Aaron began talking about attorneys immediately. Madeline said nothing. She left my house between two officers without looking at her son. That part I noticed. I think Owen did too. After everyone else was gone, we sat in the living room together in the same silence that had felt dangerous a week earlier and now just felt tired. He put his head in his hands. I sat beside him. Neither of us said anything for a while. Then he asked, "How long did you know?" I thought about that. About all the little moments I had dismissed because grief made me want usefulness to be love. "Longer than I admitted to myself," I said. Not because I knew facts, because something in me kept saying this isn't right, and I kept answering back that loneliness was making me suspicious. He nodded slowly. "She did that to me too." "I know." He looked up. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "we let the courts do their job." The trial was 11 weeks later. Madeline was convicted on fraud, attempted elder financial exploitation, forged financial instruments, and conspiracy tied to the false conservatorship filing. She got 4 years. Aaron got 6. The court took a harder view of a professional outsider bringing structure to a family theft. Dr. Kaplan surrendered his license before his own hearing and took a plea. All my accounts were restored. The conservatorship petition was dismissed in full. The false medical evaluation was struck from the record. Owen moved into an apartment 2 blocks from me that spring. Good light, cheap rent, walking distance to work. He started with a civil engineering firm downtown, and on Sundays he came by to cook with me. Sometimes after breakfast we drove together to the memorial. The first time he stood in front of Daniel's name as an adult, he said nothing at all for a long time. I didn't either. Some silences are not empty. About 4 months after the sentencing, we were sitting on my back porch in the evening when he asked me something I had been asking myself since Nina first met me in her driveway. "Do you blame yourself?" "For what?" "For not seeing it sooner." I watched the sky darken above the fence line. "I think," I said slowly, "that after your dad died and your grandmother died, I needed there to still be family in the house. I needed help to mean help. So I saw what I wanted to see for longer than I should have." He was quiet. Then he said, "Nina saw it." "Nina wasn't grieving," I said. "She was paying attention." He thought about that. Then he asked, How do you become the kind of person who notices? I smiled a little. You survive long enough. You get burned by what you ignored. Then next time, you don't ignore it. He leaned back in his chair. We sat there until the porch light clicked on by timer. Nina's garden next door was visible in the last of the dusk, every bed tidy, every rose where it belonged. Some people keep their lives together by force of discipline, some by luck, a few by love. Nina, I think, did it by refusing to lie to herself about what she was looking at. I thought about Daniel, about Elena, about the coffee that always went cold at the wall, about the way grief had been used as an entry point by a woman patient enough to mistake herself for clever. And I thought about this, which is what I will leave you with. When people talk about aging, they talk about memory. They should talk more about loneliness, because memory is not the first thing people come for. Loneliness is. That is the unlocked side door, the extra key you forgot to ask back for, the helpful smile, the casserole, the bank errand, the doctor recommendation, the gentle suggestion that maybe you are not as sharp as you used to be. Watch the small things. Watch the names added quietly to forms. Watch the person who wants to manage your life more than they want to stand beside it. Trust the unease that keeps coming back even when you wish it would go away. And hold on to the people who show up in a housecoat at your driveway before you've even turned off the engine. Those are the ones who mean it. Drop a 2 in the comments if you made it to the end.